After a successful trip to Canada, the combat sports leader is back home in Las Vegas with a slate of 13 fights that will see prospects and veterans kick off their 2024 campaign.
Oh, she got
nailed hard! Carolina following up. What an answer!
10 seconds.
Carolina, that's it! Wow! Mike Jackson. Oh! Tafa with a huge shot! Sits Rodriguez down! And he punches his way to victory! Temba Garimbo gets it done double early! Armbar, the mounted armbar. Kick out! No way! What a way to answer your critics! And look at the emotion. Oh, again! It's a double dose of that left hook. And he seals the deal. One for luck. Lights out. Randy Brown.
Wow.
What a knockout.
I will disqualify you. Hey, stop. Hey, hold on. Hey, listen to me. Listen to me.
And there he is, hands in the air.
What a fight.
Can I talk to you a little bit?
Yes.
My father is 62 years old and he had a baby yesterday. Tomorrow when I get home, I'm gonna get my wife pregnant another time. Because if my father, 62 years old, can populate the world, I can too. Mani Moicano 3 is coming.
Kia ora koutou katoa, no mai hara mai ki UFC on Sky ko Ravinda Hunia tōku ingoa. Some exciting news for New Zealand MMA. We have our first ever fight series to feature on UFC Fight Pass, Shuriken Fight Series, who we have covered on this show before. We'll take the plunge onto the video streaming website, and joining me now is Shuriken owner and promoter Jason Vorster to tell us more. Kia ora and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ravinda. Yeah.
First of all, congratulations. What an absolute opportunity after the years you've put into creating the Shuriken Fight Series to be what it is today.
Yeah, we're very, very blessed. I've got a very good team that also helps build up the brand, and SFS started small as anything and just built up to quite a big show in New Zealand. It's a good platform for all the fighters. And yeah, it's very exciting. On the 20th of April at Event Finder Stadium will be our first one and featured on UFC Fight Pass. Good for us, good for everything, good for New Zealand, good for MMA. And that's what it's about, you know. I think it's just gonna elevate MMA in New Zealand and help all the different gyms, you know, with their fighters, and just get a bit more exposure. That's all it is, on the world stage, on the international stage.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, how does one get a deal like this? How do you get your show on something like UFC Fight Pass?
Well, it's been in the making for the last 3 years. It hasn't been easy. Pete from Australia is hugely instrumental in that, just backwards and forwards and emails. And also, I think, you know, there's so many different shows around, but I think the Shuriken Fight Series, the show on a whole, is a great production, you know. It's an event, you go there and it's lights, camera, action, and it's run well. The fights are well matched. I have a good relationship with all the coaches and all the other gyms in New Zealand. And we've had a lot of the guys fighting on the show. You know, we've had Israel, we've had Dan Hooker, as you know, and Carlos, and now Kevin Jasset as well in the UFC, and you know, there's a lot of guys that have been fighting on the show, and we've got a lot of upcoming guys coming up in the heavyweight division. Even Navajo, he's our champion, Cam Rouston. So hopefully we're going to open up doors, and also. You know, hopefully it'll open up doors for the other gyms as well. There's so many good guys in all the other gyms around New Zealand that maybe they'll have a bit of get a look now, you know, from scalps from the UFC. So, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we spoke a little bit about this off camera about once upon a time, if you wanted to be in the UFC, CKB pretty much was the place you went to get that opportunity. And a lot of that has to do with, you know, networking, relationships, connections. But something like this, as you say, opens doors for other gyms to have those opportunities as well.
Yeah, well, you're so right, Ravinda. You know, CKB is the top of the food chain. That's great, and I've got a very good relationship with them and Eugene, and he's been instrumental in helping me get this as well and get Fight Pass as well, and he's great. But there are some great talent coming out, some youngsters coming out of little young Tyrell Karaka for Oliver MMA. As you know, you train with him, you know. And I know there's a Matt Vale in Core MMA. We've got some good guys in the gym. There are some guys that are good records, and we've got a couple of pros in our gym, and Logan Price and Brad Ramsey, that everybody, you know, maybe get overlooked if you're not at CKB as such, you know. But as you know, it's like anything. The pro fighters have to train with pro fighters. You know, so they're not all just flocking there just to, they train together. So it kind of helps. Unfortunately, New Zealand hasn't got a huge pool, so you can understand all the guys going to one area to train together in a gym, you know. A lot of gyms don't have 7 or 8 pro fighters or heavyweights for that matter. You know, my gym is like Team Alpha Male. We got like all these. I don't think we've got anyone over 70 kilograms, to be honest with you. They don't grow them very big up on the shore. So so we've got a lot of smaller guys. So yeah.
When people think about fighters and getting prepared for, you know, things like the UFC and all of that, a lot of talk is, you know, surrounded around their gyms and getting the skills that they need, and then they jump on a plane, they go over to the UFC and they compete. But the reality is, when you're getting all those tools in the gym, you have to have that outlet somewhere where you can, you know, use those tools. And something like Shuriken Fight Series has been that for many of our fighters. You mentioned Israel Adesanya, Dan Hooker, Kevin Jusey. How important are these local cards to really ensure that our fighters or potential, you know, big mainstream fighters in the future are getting that exposure that they need before hitting the big time?
Oh, you have no idea. It's extremely important. We even start on a grassroots level at the gym. So we have a cage in the gym, and the guys come in there and they'll do like novice rules MMA. Then they'll progress to Shuriken Fight Series or one of the other promotions around, and do amateur MMA, which is obviously no elbows to the face on the ground, and then progress to professional. I mean, no one's just going to go straight into a professional fight, as you know. You know, so I think it's hugely important. It's hugely important. I believe it's just my opinion that the matchmaking is the most important thing. You know, to mismatch fighters. If he gets smashed, then he's not going to go want to fight again. First of all, coach is not going to be happy. He's not going to support you. So lucky throughout the years, I've built up a good relationship with the coaches, and touch wood, I've made a few mistakes, don't get me wrong, along the way. But I try and match the fighters as fairly and as cleanly and openly as I can, you know. And yeah, man, you have a 50-50 chance of winning, you know. And some guys are always going to be more experienced, and some guys are going to want to be. Israel is talented. You know, you could tell right from the start he was talented. He would be better than your average person. So you're always going to have those guys coming through. But I think it's important. I think it's important to build the fighters up to go through. I don't even let my youngsters fight without shin guards, and then eventually, as they progress, they lose the shin guards, change instead of 6-ounce gloves, 4-ounce gloves. You know, so it's a big progression. You want to have you want to have longevity in the sport. You don't want to. Most of your Muay Thai guys fight for 7 years generally. You know, 7 years and you're finished. Your shins and your elbows and everything are toast. You don't want to be doing that. You want to fight for 20 years. You want to make a living out of it. Same as Dan and Israel, how they're doing that. You know, they're making a living out of it. And I believe in this day and age, not when I was fighting, you know, you can make a living out of it. You know, with regards to all these huge promotions and social media and everything, you can make a very comfortable living out of fighting, which you probably couldn't 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
You know? So having longevity in the sport is hugely important. And also just almost, you know, looking after the fighters, looking after your fight. I wouldn't just throw a beginner into a full MMA fight or a full Muay Thai fight. You know?
It's also imperative to the future of the sport.
Of course.
Right? We want our fighters around
to grow and to, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like you've had this vision for a long time, longer than, you know, I mean, coming onto UFC Fight Pass is huge. But I feel like for the amount of time you've been running Shuriken Fight Series, you've always had this vision that if I, you know, create this environment, this fight series, and people come to it, that it's for the future of the sport. Is that accurate?
Yeah, of course. I was brought up in a gym. You know, my grandfather was a champion fighter, my father as well. I just kind of fell into it. And my dad still runs promotions in South Africa FC, and he's still doing that, and he's 76 years old, and he loves it. You know, it's not even a job. It's just fun. But you have to have that vision. You know. I've always had it. And at the end of the day, working with the NZ MMA in New Zealand and with Terry and Matt Toa and all of them, that is about growing the sport. Yeah, of course you have to make money. I spend work all day. I work a 10-hour day. I would like to make some money, but more importantly, it's just growing the sport in New Zealand and helping these kids get off the street, and maybe they can, find this pathway, like it is with rugby or with anything. Nobody just joins All Blacks. It's straight away you have different tiers and you get into it. It's the same as MMA, Yeah, we can just help these kids and just build it up. And you feed the gyms. All the shows will feed the gyms as well. The more gyms we have, the more shows we can put on, and the more fighters we have. Anybody can put a show on, but it's getting the right fighters and matching the right fights. The fighters make the show. Yeah. And I'm realizing that more as we go along, and I'm learning I'm still learning, that focusing more on the fighters and building them up as a brand, and that's going to help, whether it's selling tickets or getting people into the show. So it's not just about everything, it's about focusing on all the individuals. And I don't live in an Instagram age, I'm a dinosaur. So it's important. They promote themselves on Instagram. They get sponsors, and it's they can go pretty far doing that.
Yeah, and you can get a long way with who you know.
Yes, of course.
I mean, you obviously have to have the skills, but who you know, making those relationships, making those connections, much like what you've done over the years to land, a deal with UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah, it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
If you don't have the relationships, you ain't going anywhere. Hey? Yeah. I'm lucky I've kept the same people from the shows and using the same lighting, and they're using the same chairs and food and catering, and I suppose you can get it cheaper and doing that, but I just like it's easier with relationships and having a good relationship with people and just being honest and open, and same with the coaches. Just being honest and open, giving them. Of course, you want your guy to win, but you can't say, he's never fought MMA before, but he's had 200 boxing fights. You disclose that. Just tell me, so I can match them fairly, because that kid's father's also coming to watch him, So yeah.
As well as promoting, what else are you doing for the sport of MMA?
Well, my passion is a gym that we run, a Shuriken MMA in Waira Valley. It's like a family gym, as I'm sure all the other gyms are, but it's such a good culture. It's such a good culture. We have so many youngsters coming through and just training. 20% or 30% fight. Well, mind you, most of them do want to fight. Everybody just wants to fight. Yep. But it's just a culture. They come out from school and they come straight to the gym and they hang around in the gym and work on the bags, then they do the classes. The whole culture is great. And if you don't have that culture in the gym, I don't think your gym is going to go too far, Yeah. And it's good, and it's good for the youngsters, man. And that's the growth of the sport. That's the growth of your business, because we want to do this for a bit longer. You want to run your business for the next 10, 20, 30 years. You don't just want to just reap it now and then have nothing. So I try to work on that in the gym, in the culture, and we're doing okay.
Yeah, you're doing all right. You've been around for a while.
Yeah. Hard. I arrived there with nobody. I didn't know anybody, little small South African kid. If I looked like Steve Oliver, it would have been a bit different, but I don't. But lucky I can have good relationships with people, Yes. And that's I think that's helped along the way. Yeah.
Are you still a MMA fan? Do you like to watch the sport as well as be involved in what you do?
Every day, yeah. I'm not great on social media. I don't even have Instagram, but I watch all the fight passes up, buy everything. Everything. That's the next one coming up, Volkanovski,
Yeah.
But I do watch all of them,
I don't want to use the word pressure, but I'll chuck it out there a little bit. You mentioned April 20th will be the first time that one of your cards are featuring on UFC Fight Pass. Does that give it a little added something to make sure that you knock it out of the park? Well, I'm not saying that you ever don't.
No.
Do you have that,
Yeah. You make me get goosebumps just talking to you, man. When I'm talking to these guys and you got all these guys from Fight Pass on the other side. I told them I'm petrified. I've been doing it for a long time and following my father do it, but it's daunting. They're top of the food chain. So hopefully we're just going to keep on doing what we do, because I know with my team behind me, we do run a good show. And everyone's told me. So and they just said, just keep on doing what you're doing. We wouldn't go with you if we didn't think. No, it's going to be great. We've got some good pro fights. We just, Bulk and Bear, we've signed a little while ago. We're slowly starting to release all the pro fights now with Calvin Fatial. And we got just signed, I just got Logan Price today with Ryan Cooper from Oz, Prashant Gura and Ali from CKB, Gina G and Gay Sanita.
Nice.
Gina's fighting, so her post will go out today. And I've got about 7 or 8 pro fights. So we're just slowly starting to release them all this week. But yeah, man, it's going to be a great show. And even Even amateurs, man. Even amateurs. I've got 2 amateur title fights. They're going to be insane. So, yeah, we're looking forward to the show. And we're just going to do what we normally do. Nothing's going to change. But, yep, there is added pressure. Thanks for bringing it up. Thanks for bringing it up.
Look, you also mentioned to me off camera about Dana White having his eyes on this competition. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, in the meetings we've had, and everything, I was just told that him and Hunter have been talking about it, and they've grown up. They've grown quite a few of the different regions, China and Australia. Eternal, they're doing a great job in Australia. But they're also trying to focus on New Zealand. To me personally, I believe it's because we have such good fighters in New Zealand, and not trying to downsize us with wrestling, but most of the guys are stand-up fighters, you know, whether it's Carlos or Israel or Ka or Dan or anyone for that matter, most of the guys are stand-up, and to me that's more exciting. As much as I love jiu-jitsu, I just don't want to see guys rolling on the floor and you know, for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I like the stand-up fighters, and I think most of them guys in New Zealand are good stand-up fighters, so that people like watching that. So yes, apparently they are looking at New Zealand. All eyes are on New Zealand, so it'll probably help a few of the guys, up-and-coming guys, wanting to, you know, get into a promotion like the UFC or something.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's amazing. You're on the radar now.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I got a good team behind me. It's not all me, trust me. I'm just a voice. Yeah.
UFC 298 is the next major pay-per-view on the cards, and it will be taking place in Anaheim, California on February the 18th. The card features 3 Australian-based fighters: current featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski, former middleweight champion Robert Whittaker, and the heavyweight Justin Tafa, who joins me now, the bad man himself. Justin, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, it's always good to see familiar faces. It makes the venue and the whole week just a bit more comfortable.
Justin, first of all, congratulations. Another great opportunity for you to show what you have in the heavyweight division. You're, of course, alongside your fellow countrymen with Volk and Rob on this one. It feels like a great fit for you to be fighting alongside your countrymen.
Oh, no, you know, I tackle all my camps the same. It's all about personal development and bettering myself in all facets. You know, I respect the grappling just as much as I respect the knockout, and I respect being technical just as I respect all the power and natural talent I was given with. Well, I got given talents in there, and then man, I've been upping my game ever since I started this. So if it needs to be used, I will use some other stuff. But if not, just keep trying to get the knockouts.
Well, you've got 3 knockouts in a row now, Justin, so it'd be kind of crazy to steer away from your strengths. But, you know, it's no secret you have been working on your cardio with all the CrossFit work you've been doing as well. Yeah,
tough as usual. You know, my trainers, Alex and Henry, man, they down at Fit Kid, they keep me honest. You know, if I'm doing good, then they want to see more, and then they want to do more. They want to see even more. So shout out to the team there for keeping me honest every week.
Does it change things up a little bit when you're fighting on these massive pay-per-view events as opposed to fight nights?
Honestly, not really, because my debut was in one of the biggest cards in history, so it can only go, you know, a bit lower than that. You know, that was the most attending event ever. So I think that was like a blessing in disguise, being exposed to such a magnitude of an event. Everything else kind of seems a little bit more easier to handle.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point. And then it, you know, of course, changes again when you're in front of a home crowd, right? You have to have a different kind of preparation for that. This time, though, you're off to America once again. Not too foreign for you, but how does travel work into that preparation?
Just getting used to the time difference is one of the main things, and you know, everyone's different with the way they handle jet lag and whatnot. I've been lucky enough to travel a lot, you know, during my fight career and helping other fighters in the past. So getting in a bit early and getting my sleep pattern, you know, adjusted as fast as I can is my main goals.
And how has the nutrition side of things been going? We all know on this side of the world, we all love our kai.
It's been tough, honestly. I think this may be the 4th time I've fought in Feb, maybe 4 or 5 times. And if you fight in Feb, that means you do camp through Christmas and New Year's. So that's been the biggest sacrifice. But I like fighting early, you know, so I can have some time off after Feb. That's when footy season starts for my son, so I can be the rugby dad on the sideline with my sausage sizzle.
Yes, we all love the sausage sizzle, an absolute classic on this part of the world. But you bring up a great point about family and camping through Christmas, because although you are there, your mind is very much, you know, in prep mode ahead of your big fight.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's quite evident with all fighters that you're there, but you're not there in a sense. You know, your thoughts and all your energy is going towards this fight, but they've gotten used to it. I think, you know, being my fourth fight, and my son's probably spent most of his life, you know, seeing me in camp during Christmas. But that's the blessing of having a big family. You know, there's enough faces there to keep him busy during the festive times.
100%, the village always comes through, doesn't it? Look, talk to us a little bit about your opponent, Marcos de Lima. He's, you know, been in the UFC for a little while now, 10 years this year, so there's a bit of tape for you to go through to research him a little bit. Yeah,
for sure. You know, he's a respectable heavyweight opponent. You know, I got huge respect for a guy like that. Black belt in jiu-jitsu, and likes to bring a brawl to a fight. But I think, you know what they say, like, styles make matches, and this is why they wanted us to fight on such a big card. You know, the main card is crazy stacked. You know, one of the people even say more stacked than the 300 card, and they brought us in to start the fireworks, and that's what I'm planning on doing.
Yeah, good point with the star power on this card. Arguably much bigger than what was delivered on UFC 297, so that's an exciting prospect. Getting the opportunity to be on this card, though, was it a no-brainer for you?
Yeah, for sure. When I heard Volk was going to be on that card, I just put the feelers out, and I just said, you know, I'm there if needed, and I think it's quite pretty straightforward to have me on a card that you want to promote the Anzac fighters overseas for me to start the show.
And speaking of Anzacs, your brother Junior, his fight announcement has just recently dropped for next month. How is preparations going? Obviously, he would have known his fight was coming for a little while now. How is it preparing alongside your brother when you're both fighting, as opposed to one preparing the other?
Honestly, I don't think so. Being my brother and him being in the UFC, we always try to do the best we can to help each other, because we know how much, you know, like how the roller coaster of fighting is. You know, like the ups and downs are so big, and we're quite aware of that. So we try to do our best to be there. You know, even if we want a holiday or something, we will just skip the holiday as if it's our fight. You know, so that's the blessing of having a brother in the UFC, because you want to do the best for them, and they want to do the same to you.
And of course, that word Anzac is always used to describe our New Zealand and Australians when they're fighting on the UFC stage. And of course, it's approaching. The date is approaching soon. Do you ever take stock of that at all, and that unity that both New Zealand and Australia hold when fighting on the big stage under that banner of Anzac?
For sure. You know, a lot of these fighters too, we've known each other for years, and we've fought on like regional cards together, or come up in the regional scenes together, and it's kind of been their kind of growth as they kind of like family members, you know what I mean? And to see them growing and you being a part of it, and them being a part of your career, it's something special. And it's just crazy, because Anzac's just getting bigger and bigger. You know, the amount of fighters that are coming from this region, and I just love to see the journey.
And not to mention homegrown now. There was once a time where you had to go abroad to train out of those big gyms to even be considered for a UFC contract, but now you can walk right outside your front door, and the UFC dream is still possible. Yeah,
for sure. That's been a big growth, actually. In maybe the last 6 years I've seen is you don't have to travel so far. You know, there's quality coaches here, world-class coaches all around. And it just shows that, you know, fighters that are trying to make it, they don't have to, obviously travel too far and fork out a lot of money for that.
And of course, within that Anzac contingent, we have a solid Samoan fighting family as well. Tyson Pedro has a fight coming up. Tai Tuivasa has a fight coming up. So it's so great to see that your fellow Samoan fighters are getting these opportunities as well.
For sure, you know, it's always shout out to the Samoan community and all the boys. You know, Carlos too's got a fight coming up, and we always chat. You know, we're always well aware of what we have to do. You know, like to put on for a small nation, and I think there's another year of growth. And even Rob, I always forget Rob Samoan. You know, he's in the room next to me, and I always forget. Oh, sorry, bro, but he's another one. You know, it's just cool. Yeah, real cool.
Look, I wanted to get your thoughts on the heavyweight division as a whole right now. I know we've had these discussions in the past and you're like, oh, I don't really, you know, watch those guys at the top. But there is a bit of a halt going up there. You're facing a ranked opponent now, which, you know, a win means propelling yourself into that situation up there. So what are your thoughts on the state of the heavyweight division right now? Yeah,
I have been, you know, it'd be dumb not to look at the top 15, especially where I stand right now in all the standings. You know, I'm just knocking on the door right now, and obviously my next opponent being a ranked opponent. But right now, I'm not looking too far ahead, to be honest. You know, I know this is a big task ahead of me. And I know there's a couple of names in the top 15 and the lower end of the top 10 that I want to see. But right now, it's about my next opponent, and then talk about the money, and then we'll talk about the next opponent after that.
Well, with 3 knockouts in a row, you know, it's only propelling you forward to these more ranked opponents and helping push you up to the top.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I've seen Sean O'Malley talk about making sure your value matches your opponents, and you know, I feel like the shows I put on with my fights and the opponents getting harder, the contract should go higher.
Thank you so much for your time, Justin. All the very best, and I'm sure I'll be catching up with you before you fight as well.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me again.